Welcome to the August 8th meeting of the City of West Covina Traffic Committee meeting. So first I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 3:05. The next item is the Traffic Committee items taken to the previous Traffic Committee meeting.
Do you want to do intros?
Oh, my apologies. I'll go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves.
I'm Michael Ackerman, I'm the city engineer.
Brian Cervantes in Traffic Engineering.
Jana Robbins, West Covina Traffic Department.
Allison Richter, West Covina Traffic Department.
Nice meeting you all.
Perfect. So now item number 2, now that we've introduced everyone. So item 2 is Traffic Committee items taken to the previous Traffic Committee meeting. All items were were unanimously approved by the Traffic Committee. However, these recommendations will be represented to the Traffic Committee at the August meeting for attending residents to provide feedback. So the first item that was brought was the line of sight request at West Roseway Street and South Sunset Avenue. And here were the existing conditions that we gathered for this item. And from it, the recommendation is to install 20 feet of red curb on the northeast leg of the intersection at Roseway Street and Sunset Avenue as shown on the exhibit. And I do not believe there's any residents here to speak on this one, so we'll go ahead and move on to our second that was approved or recommended. And so the second is South Azusa Avenue and East Spring Autumn Drive. Ooh, that was a hard one. And here's the existing conditions that were collected for this report. And from this, it was recommended that a traffic signal would not be recommended, which was the initial request. However, based on the review, it was recommended to install cross traffic does not stop plaques on stop signs at Autumn Drive and Azusa Avenue, as well as the installation of a movable your speed feedback sign north of Autumn Drive for southbound direction traffic on Azusa Avenue, and to refer to PD for spot treatment of this segment and the installation of a speed trailer for the northbound direction or downhill. And I don't believe we have any residents on this item as well, so we'll move on to our third item, which was Shadow Oak Drive and Gemini Street. And the request was to review traffic conditions at the intersection of Shadow Oak Drive and Gemini Street. The resident expressed concerns about vehicles not stopping at the intersection, as well as stop signs at the intersection being damaged frequently. Here's the existing condition that was gathered, which essentially the collision time frame was a 3-year collision review, and we found that there was 2 collisions at the intersection. As well, we looked at the posted speed limits, which was 40 miles per hour for Shadow Oak and 25 miles per hour for Gemini Street, and the intersection is always stop controlled. The stop sign conditions at the time of the review were all in good condition, and there is advanced warning signs for all 3 directions. The street classification for Shadow Oak and Gemini are both local streets, and there is street lighting located at the intersection. And then from our review, it was recommended to refresh all stop bar and stop legends where needed at the intersection of Shadow Oak Drive and Gemini Street. Remove and replace the 3-way stop plaques with all-way stop plaques underneath the stop signs. Install red reflective strips on all the existing stop sign posts at the intersection. Install an island curb alert reflector and repaint yellow striping around the curb to improve visibility of the raised median. And install diagonal direction striping in front of the median stop sign in both directions for approximately 50 feet.
And this one,
Perfect. So regarding this one, the initial request was for flashing stop signs. So at the time of the review, there were 2 collisions at this intersection with property damage only. While all collisions are considered as significant, the City of West Covina must set a priority for implementation of costly traffic and safety enhancement devices. Flashing stop signs run approximately $8,000 to $10,000 for each solar stop sign installation. And after a count is completed when schools are back in session, if the volume data supports moving the location to level 3 for review flashing stop signs, the residents will be notified and a petition required from area residents in support of flashing stop signs will be distributed.
so this one, because the location of the park, as well as having a couple of collisions, that we needed to do an additional intersection count that will have vehicle and pedestrians crossing. So when we look at flashing stop signs, we have to set a priority. And most of the time, it's based on the number of pedestrians, is it heavy traveled or not? And the number of collisions. I know every collision is bad, but you know, we have to set a priority because we get a lot of requests for flashing stop signs. So in this case, at this one, because of the park and the potential, it has crosswalks, so the potential for pedestrians. At the time this was brought, school was out, so we want to make sure we do a count when school is in, so that we collect all available data, and then if it looks like we have a significant number of pedestrians crossing, we'll bring it back and see if it meets the priority level for installation of flashing stop signs. In the meantime, we're going to update, as Brian said, all of the stop signs themselves to be the bigger and reflective with the always stop plaque, and now we have the little red reflector on the post, and redo the island alerts with additional yellow striping with diagonal to hopefully get these cars so they're not running over the middle stop sign. And just so we know, even if it goes to level 3, which would be the flashing stop sign, we cannot put the flashing stop signs in the middle, because in the middle, it's considered in the roadway, and it has to be on a bounce back pole, so it doesn't hurt somebody, you know. So that's how, you know, and we know that a lot of the ones in the middle get taken out, because the city has replaced a lot of them. Not just at this location, other locations that have that little median in the middle. So, and right now, there are some traffic measures being installed right now, so people will start seeing more flashing, but, and they have some of them have the middle island, but those will not have the flashing stop sign. We do have one resident on this. Would you like to speak on this one?
Yeah, I want to speak on it because
Yes.
I went around and we collected 220 signatures, which we gave to whoever I had to send it into. But anyway, we collected 220 signatures because people do not stop. I mean, it was unbelievable. But I have a little something here because I said in order for most of the residents in that area to shop in West Covina, they go down Shadow Oak Drive, okay? So there's a lot of traffic on Shadow Oak Drive, okay? Now, people speak there big time. They don't always stop at the stop signs. I went to a council meeting, I was going home, and at Woodgate, I stopped for the sign. I mean, my lights were on. I said, this car just went right by me, sort of thing. And that really upset me because they're not stopping like they should, because whether it's the trees or whatever, they just don't see it or don't even know it's there, sort of thing, okay? Seeing this with my own eyes reminded me of my neighbor's relative, a young lady. She was paralyzed because a driver did not stop at the stop sign. Even though it wasn't at Shadow Oak, it can happen at any time and at any place. This is the shortcut to Nogales. Instead of going all the way up to Nogales and down, they just come through here because it's a shortcut. Okay? And there's no homes facing Shadow Oak or not facing Shadow Oak. It's either lined with trees or walls. So that makes it easier for people to speed because there's no homes around there. They just zip right through, sort of thing. And if you went down there now, you could see all the people making donuts at every crossing, sort of thing. Unbelievable. There are marks all over the place, okay? And the police don't have the manpower, especially at night, to be on this street 24/7. I said, there's too many other streets that they have to take care of too. And anyway, we gathered 220 signatures from the residents that are concerned. And we feel that the stopping, blinking stop signs would be a great help, especially at night, and reminding them at the daytime. Because even daytime, I see the flashing lights in different areas, sort of thing, and they are noticeable. And I think this is something that, whether there's been an accident right now or not, but it's an accident waiting to happen, okay? And collecting all these signatures, we didn't have one person saying no to it, okay? Out of 220. Now, it was hot out, and I wasn't going to do any more walking. But anyway, I think that this is enough people to show you that the people do care, and it is dangerous. I said, especially when you go down there, I mean, we stop because we know it, but some stranger like yourself, if you go down there and you don't look, I said, you're just going to go flying right by, like the guy did when I was coming home at 9 o'clock from the council meeting. It just flew right by me, like there was no stop sign there at all, sort of thing. And I think this is something that the people are very concerned about, even though there hasn't been an accident, but it's an accident waiting to happen. Okay? And I said, these.
Actually, there were an accident like a few months ago, like a year ago, somebody died.
Oh, well, that's possible, I don't know, but I said, I think that they should have the flashing lights because at least you can see them, okay, whether it's day or night, because since there's no houses facing the street, I can understand if there was houses facing the street, but there's nothing there. It's all trees or block walls. So people think it's a speedway. And we just feel that something has to be done, and these flashing lights, we think that at least is a great warning for them, day and night, sort of thing. And because a lot of people cut across the field short, don't even know the area, but seeing that there's no homes or anything, they think it's wide open spaces, so they just zoom right by. And I don't know, I just think that,
Yeah, I vote for a stop sign.
Yeah, the flashing stop signs. The flashing stop signs, because you put them up in the middle, which you say, we don't need it in the middle because they'll knock it down. They replace that a dozen times, especially at Gemini, I guess. They just knock them down. And there's wheelies around there too.
We appreciate you coming in, and I think we do have your petition. So that's on this one, the Shadow Oak and Gemini. That's part of the reason why it's moving to level 3. Because in order for a location to move to level 3, it has to qualify. And then we asked you for the petition, but you had the petition, so we will be getting those counts. And then PD has also been doing some spot enforcement on that location. So they have a list of the locations that they have been, and it's on the list, so I mean, they can't sit there all day. They just do it here and there,
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
did that, it's on the list, so we know they're looking at it. But in the meantime, we'll have them go back and still look at
Yeah.
that location.
I sure would
And,
appreciate it
we'll
because these
see what
people are
happens.
concerned.
Yes.
I said there might not be an accident, but I don't know how many times a wall has to be replaced, because they're missed the turn or whatever. I don't know what they do, but they hit
Yeah,
the wall.
I just said there was an accident
Yeah,
several months ago,
yeah,
and somebody died.
yeah. Like I say, I don't know.
All right, so moving on to number 2. So, Brian, you want to do that one? Excuse me, are you here for a specific item? Intersection?
So this is for the intersection of East Autumn and Azusa.
Autumn and Azusa.
Yeah, that's the email I got from.
Oh, okay, so,
That's in July, I think.
okay, so we looked at that one already, so we can go back and explain what that one will have. So yeah, go back and then we'll go back into the,
So it's in the July folder in the back, if you want to look at it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I forgot to print out an extra copy.
I think it's on the PowerPoint though.
Yeah, you
It
have
is?
it right there.
Yeah, so,
Perfect. So we'll go over this one really quickly. Okay, so the residents who are part of an HOA located along Park Vista Way has requested that the city look into installing a traffic signal at the intersection of South Azusa Avenue and East Autumn Drive. The resident expressed concern about drivers driving recklessly while some trying to enter and exit the community and requested that a signal be installed. So as part of the review, we looked at 3 years of collision history, which from 2020 to 2023, and found that there was 3 collisions during that time span. As well, we looked at the posted speed limit, which was 45 miles per hour for Azusa Avenue and 25 miles per hour for Autumn Drive. And the street classifications currently are for Azusa Avenue, it's an other principal arterial road per the Caltrans road classification map. And Autumn Drive and Park Vista Drive are both local streets, with Park Vista Drive being actually a private street. The ADT and 85th percentile speed on Azusa was 40,618 vehicles per day, and 48 miles per hour was the 85th percentile speed. There is no parking on Azusa, however, there is parking allowed on Autumn Drive and Park Vista Drive. Perfect. And then, so for the justification for installation of a traffic signal is based on criteria as found in the CAM UTCD and supported by a site-specific engineering study. The criteria has a minimum volume for each direction of traffic that must be met for 8 hours in a day, 4 hours, and in special circumstances in a single hour. When completing a study, there are additional factors or criteria that should be met, such as distance to adjacent signals, gaps in major street traffic, number of collisions in a 12-month period, and if there are significant pedestrian crossings at the major street. In this case, there were a total of 3 collisions that occurred over a 3-year period, and this intersection is also 480 feet from a signal to the south at Fairgrove Avenue, and 1,200 feet to a signal at Azusa Avenue and Aroma Drive to the north. Park Vista Way is also considered a private street providing access to 44 houses, while Aroma Drive provides access to several different housing tracts. And while inconvenient, residents can access the signals at Fairgrove Avenue and Aroma Drive. At this time, the cross street of Autumn Drive and Park Vista Drive do not meet the collision criteria and are unlikely to generate the amount of side traffic needed to exceed the volume criteria for a signal. And based on the review, it's recommended to install cross traffic does not stop plaques on stop signs at Autumn Drive at Azusa Avenue. The installation of a your speed feedback sign south of Autumn Drive and the northbound direction on Azusa Avenue. And also refer to PD for additional spot enforcement and place their speed trailer for northbound travel.
My
Okay.
primary concern is Azusa. Is there anything on Azusa? Will there be anything on Azusa?
Well, see, when we look at putting signals are about $600,000. So there are criteria as found in the
How about
California.
stop sign?
Well, that's not done on an arterial. You can't put a stop sign on Azusa Avenue. It's 45 miles per hour. So it's a signalized, it's an arterial. So that's what, arterial's focus is to put most of the traffic on arterial. We don't want them cutting through our residential areas. Unfortunately, Autumn sits 480 feet from a signal and 1,000 something from another signal. But you have to have, in order to meet warrants, they call it, or
How about
criteria, you have to
reducing
have.
the 45 mile to like 25 mile?
We cannot do that because the speed limits are set by state law. So in 2017, the city of West Covina had a citywide traffic study done to set all the speed limits in the city. And it was set at, what is shown there, is it 40? 45. And by law, there's certain requirements that you have to do in order to set the speed limit. It has to be the closest to the 85th percentile. So it's set by law at that speed. So we can't artificially lower the speed on that street.
Let me try to conclude. Okay, so there's no reduce of speed,
Correct.
and there's no stop sign, and there's no signal. Then why am I here? Well, you asked us to come here to listen to our voice, and we want any of those, and you don't give any of those to us.
We are making improvements at the intersection. The police suggested we put in the your speed sign is. He said the hardest movement to make is going left and crossing the entire street, right? Because you have traffic from both sides with all the lanes. So typically, when you see the "your speed is" sign, that's the only spot you really slow down, and then they speed up again. But he thought that would be
So
the
the
most
speed
effective
sign will be
location.
45?
No, it says "your speed is," so they don't speed, right?
Huh?
If they're going 45, they're okay, but if they're going 55, it flashes at them and says, "Hey, slow down, you're coming up to an intersection." And then also we added the signs that say, "cross traffic does not stop." So if traffic's coming, yeah, you shouldn't go. But the thing is, the reason we follow the CAMUTCD is so you don't inadvertently make up random traffic control throughout the city, right? You have to follow these warrants. Installing traffic signals actually increase the number of accidents. It just reduces the severity of the
So
accidents.
the only thing that I'm hearing we will get is some kind of flashing and saying that you are over 45 miles.
And the additional signs, aren't we replacing the stop signs with bigger stop signs?
Yeah.
And that's the
No.
thing, I guess.
It's
I
just
think
the-
those are okay. It's just that cross-traffic does not stop. That gives a reminder that, you know, you shouldn't be attempting to cross over 6 lanes of traffic to make a left.
Yeah. And we have police out there doing additional enforcement to ticket people who are speeding.
There's nothing else?
There's nothing else we're allowed to do by law. We ran the warrants and we did everything we could.
Yeah, unfortunately for the minor street along Autumn, you have to have a certain number of cars that travel in each direction at the intersection. And even though it may meet the requirements on Azusa, it also has to meet the requirements on Autumn. And because the west side of the intersection is residential and the east side is a private community, it's very unlikely that it'll meet the number of cars required to put a signal in. So that's why we're unable to do that. We have to follow the law.
The law, what law? I mean.
The state
The
laws.
state laws?
It's
Yeah.
the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. You can download it on the internet.
So, okay, let me try to understand. So the only thing we're gonna get is some kind of flashing and saying that you are over 45, pretty much?
That's correct.
Yes.
And the 4 additional signs and police enforcement to hand out speeding tickets.
Yeah, I mean, we can't count on police all the time, I guess.
Which is true, you know, in our area, the same thing down in Shadow Oak. I've been there for over 40 years, and I said, lately, we haven't even seen a police officer. So I said, the police might be patrolling a little bit on the street, but I said, there's one officer that controls the whole area. I said, it's impossible for them to be there 24/7, you know? And I just feel that if you put a sign up there or something or other, it's, you know,
Yeah.
at least,
Even if you put up a traffic signal or flashing stop signs, if people don't follow the law, they don't follow the law. And I don't know how to make them follow the law other than to give them tickets. We could do flashing stop signs and they could still run them all day.
well, which is true, but at least it's
Is
a
it
warning.
possible to have the traffic light keep on putting yellow?
A yellow
Flashing?
flashing light?
Yeah. Is it possible?
It has a flashing beacon that's a warning as well. So all it would do is give you a flashing that you're approaching. It's not gonna stop traffic on Azusa so that Autumn can get out. That would
I
have to be a
understand what you
real
guys
signal.
proposing, but what I'm proposing is to have the traffic light just keep on flashing yellow.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So Azusa is a major arterial, so we really can't, we can have a flashing on top of the feedback sign, a beacon, but you can't have anything like a signal, even a yellow signal, that would stop Azusa, even if it's yellow or, you know, flashing for Autumn to get out. It doesn't meet the warrants. So unfortunately, as traffic engineers, this is what we have to follow. And it's for liability reasons for the city as well as for you guys. So if we put something unusual up there, someone gets hit, then it comes back and says, oh, you didn't follow the guidelines.
They
you
would
know, you
definitely
didn't
sue the
follow the
city
rules, so
for not
now,
following
you know,
the
you're
rules.
liable. I mean, we're just an advisory. The next step, how it goes here, it goes to council. So, I mean, you have another opportunity to bring it to council. All we can do is tell them, as traffic engineers, this was our opinion. And that we, you know, had all the city engineer, the other departments look at it as well. But you do have another opportunity when it goes to traffic council.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to have the email of that, email invitation or whatever you call it.
Yeah. Do you have your email on here? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We
Yes.
can notify you when the item goes to city council, okay?
Okay. So, even though I'm invited here, I just hear you guys doing, and I can't vote or I can't. There's nothing I can,
We don't make any decisions for the city. We are an advisory board, so the city council is the ones that will actually make the final decision and make the changes. We just propose the ideas, residents can come and listen, and we say, like, this is what we're going to propose to city council, but we don't make any decisions here. We just help listen and
Well, we
present
have
items.
a
To us,
traffic
the more the
engineering
better, you know.
opinion, and
Yeah.
that's what will go to council.
yeah, the more the better, because we feel we are endangered. It's very hard to cross the traffic, to cross the street, very hard.
I mean, at this point, you wouldn't want to have turning restrictions. I mean,
That's your other
I mean,
option.
that's like, it's another option,
You could
you
extend the
know,
median across and you'd have to go
So-
right
so
every
what's
time you
the
go
other
You
out.
know,
option? I didn't hear.
is that the city could limit you from making a left or going through.
Right turn
It would be
only.
right turn only.
No.
So I know, so
No,
you have
that's
to
not what we want.
take, you know, the good with the bad. We're trying not to go there, but that, you know, to make a left turn across 6 lanes is kind of maybe a safety issue.
Yeah.
So,
So we know what you want, and we looked at every way we
Yeah.
could possibly do it within the laws, the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And we said, does it meet any of these other options we could do? And it didn't. So,
It's pretty dangerous to cross.
we understand and we appreciate you coming here and giving us your opinion and thoughts.
and then what we'll do is we have your email, so we'll notice you when it goes to council. They
Okay,
usually take a big group of them for the last couple months. It'll go to council.
okay,
And you can go and speak there on the item as well, okay?
I see. Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll
So,
move
I'm
to,
only interested in this, I guess, I don't have to.
you don't have to stay, no.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you
you.
for coming.
Excellent.
Okay.
So our next item is going to be Shadow Oak Drive and Woodgate Drive. The resident requested a review of traffic conditions at the intersection of Shadow Oak Drive and Woodgate Drive and requested implementation of flashing stop signs or other traffic calming measures that can help improve visibility at the intersection. The resident explained that some vehicles do not stop at the intersection and that this area is often used as a shortcut from Amar Road to Nogales Street. As part of the review, we looked at 3 years of a collision timeframe and found that there was 3 collisions between 2020 and 2023. The posted speed limit along Shadow Oak Drive is 40 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour along Woodgate East, and 30 miles per hour along South Woodgate Drive. This is an all-way stop controlled intersection, and there is no advanced warning signage for eastbound, westbound travel. However, there is for northbound, southbound travel. Both roads are local roads, and there are no crosswalks at this intersection. The ADT for Shadow Oak was 8,700 vehicles per day with a 39 mile per hour 85th percentile, and Woodgate had 1,045 ADT with 32 miles per hour being its 85th percentile speed. And based on the review, it was recommended to remove and replace the 4-way plaque with all new all-way plaque beneath the stop sign at the intersection. Install red reflective strips on all existing stop sign posts at the intersection. Refresh all stop bar and stop legends at the intersection. Refresh the yellow curb around the median for better visibility. and as well as replace immediately the missing stop sign, which has been replaced at this time.
And this one, I think we need to do the diagonal yellow striping as it approaches the intersection. This one does not have any crosswalks, and it's not.
But, excuse me, but even though it doesn't have a crosswalk, how do people, there's bus stops there, how do people on the other side get there? They've got to walk across that street.
Yeah, they can walk
Yeah.
across, it's legal to cross in an intersection, so. We do have, would you like to speak on this one as well?
Well, I spoke on both of them, because the one that I was worried about is that Woodgate one, because the guy went zooming right past me, and I'm stopped, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and my brake lights are on, and he can't see my brake lights, and he just went zooming right by. I said, thank God there was no other cars coming, and I said, it's dangerous, and people are upset about it, and they want these stop signs to help slow down the traffic too, because they're speeding down there like there's no tomorrow. And the police aren't going to help us. They might be there once in a while, but with all those, I guess, donuts, what we call them donuts, all over the place, obviously they haven't been there, to see all these donuts. I think they're done by motorcycle people because the tires don't seem to be very wide. But there's donuts all over the place. So obviously they're not in the area. In fact, in Woodgate, if I'm not mistaken, there's donuts right on Woodgate, on Shadow Oak and Woodgate,
I'm seeing those in lots of different cities now.
Yeah, so I said,
Yeah.
they can't be everywhere. I don't blame them because they can't be everywhere at the same time. But at least we can take precautions. I said I don't know how many times a guy has rebuilt his block wall. I said, maybe it wasn't reported as an accident or whatever, but I said, it just seems like something should be done.
Yeah, I know California's doing a pilot program in some cities for automatic cameras that give out speeding tickets automatically.
Yeah, that's garbage though.
I
Sorry.
think they'll slow down once they start getting $500 tickets.
Which is true.
All right, well, thank you, and this one didn't meet the criteria for flashing. So the other one we're gonna look at and forward it to level 3. This one, unless something changes, these are the improvements.
But we do want to add the diagonal yellow stripes
Yes,
as
we're
well.
gonna add the diagonal yellow, just like the other one, approaching the curb, the middle little islands.
Well, guess that's it.
Then we'll move on to the new traffic committee items. The first item is traffic calming along Gemini Street between Giano Avenue and Shadow Oak Drive. The resident requested to evaluate the existing conditions along the segment of Gemini Street between Giano Avenue and Shadow Oak Drive. The resident reported that vehicles tend to speed through this segment and ignore the posted stop signs, causing concerns that a collision may occur between vehicles traveling along Gemini Street. As part of the review, we did a collision history for 3 years between 2020 and 2023, and it was found that there was one mid-block collision. The posted speed limit along this segment is 25 miles per hour, and the ADT from the 2017 traffic survey was found to be 3,281 vehicles per day. And the 85th percentile from the same survey was found to be at 31 miles per hour. The street is classified as a local road per the Caltrans road system function classification. And the street width is 40 feet, and parking is available on both sides of the road. Based on the review, it was recommended to install red reflective posts on each stop sign on Gemini Street and Jacqueline Drive, and Gemini Street and Giano Avenue, per section 2A.21 of the CAM UTCD. As well, it was recommended to install all-way plaques under each stop sign at Gemini Street and Jacqueline Drive, and at the intersection of Gemini Street and Giano Avenue, per section 2B.05 of the CAM UTCD. As well as recommended to replace the faded stop sign for northbound travel at the intersection of Gemini Street and Jacqueline Drive, and for westbound travel at the intersection of Gemini Street and Giano Avenue. Also, it was recommended to replace the stop ahead sign along westbound Gemini Street near Julie Court due to the sign peeling, to refresh the stop ahead pavement legend for eastbound Gemini Street near Giano Avenue, And then this location has been forwarded to PD for spot enforcement for speeding along Gemini Street and for people ignoring the always stop location.
We do not have any residents on this one. So I guess we'll continue to the next one.
Yep. The next item is the removal of red curb requests at 321 North Orange Avenue.
Oh, go back, sorry.
Back? No.
We need to, do we have any discussion on this one? The Gemini, Mike?
Nope.
No? Okay. Then this one will be taken to council? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now proceed.
Now for the second item, the removal of red curb requests on 321 North Orange Avenue. The resident is requesting that the city reevaluate and remove the red curb at the frontage of their residence. The resident explained that the existing red curb in front of his residence has been preventing his family from parking in front of their home. As part of the review, we looked at the posted speed limit, which was 35 miles per hour, as well the street width along Orange Avenue is 40 feet, and there is parking allowed except for areas marked in red curb. The existing red curb in front of the residence is 70 feet, and there is parking on premise in a driveway and garage. As far as existing red curb at the intersection of Thelborn and Orange, there is red curb on all corners at the intersection. And to determine if existing red curb painted at the corners of Orange Avenue and Thelborn Street should be removed or remain, we did a line of sight evaluation. The line of sight evaluation found that the existing 70 feet of red curb was not needed to see approaching vehicles, and a portion of the red curb could be removed. There will still be 30 feet of red curb painted on the corner so that cars exiting Thelborn would have a clear line of sight, with 40 feet left for vehicles to park. And the recommendation for this is to remove 40 feet of red curb and leave 30 feet of red curb on the northwest corner of the intersection between West Thelborn Street and North Orange Avenue per CAM UTCD section 2B.23, which will allow for 2 cars to park.
Any discussion on this one?
I like it. I think it's good improvement.
Okay. All right, so we're going to approve, send to council. All right,
Excellent. And our third item is Eveningside Drive between Parkside Drive and Brentwood Drive. The residents requested the reinstallation of transverse rumble strips along the segment of Eveningside Drive between Parkside Drive and Brentwood Drive. The resident explained that previously these rumble strips had been installed along the segment as traffic calming measure. However, after the recent repaving of the street, the rumble strips were removed, and since vehicles have been traveling at faster speeds, the resident is concerned about pedestrian safety and would like to have the rumble strips reinstalled. And as part of the review, we looked at 3 years collision history and found that there was 0 mid-block collisions along the segment. The posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and the ADT from the 2017 speed survey was found to be approximately 1,564 vehicles per day, with the 85th percentile being 31 miles per hour. Eveningside Drive is classified by Caltrans as a local road, and adjacent to this segment is a single-family residential, a playground, and a park. The street width is 40 feet, and parking is allowed on both sides of the road. So transverse rumble strips are a type of warning system that provides motorists with audible, visual, and tactical signals when approaching a decision point, in this case the park, where pedestrians and children are crossing the street. Rumble strips are not speed humps, but are raised tactile pavement markers or rough pavement. They are less impactful of vehicles, emergency vehicles, as well as motorcycles, and rumble strips, while providing a way to alert drivers of approaching crossing pedestrians, they do have some negative effects such as vibration or noise associated with cars traveling over the rough road, and when repaving, the strips would need to be removed and replaced. Residents should also be aware that a rumble strip may be installed in front of their house and will have noise associated with cars consistently running over the strips. Since these devices were formerly installed along Eveningside Drive and it has been demonstrated that vehicles are traveling above the posted speed limit, this location would be eligible to move to Level 2 assessment. The Level 2 assessment may include a new speed survey by the city and a resident-led neighborhood petition. A resident petition would need to be filled out by all the residents living on Eveningside Park between Parkside Drive and Brentwood Drive, with one signature from each house in agreement with reinstallation of the transverse rumble strips. Signing of the petition acknowledges that there will be noise associated with the strips, and the homeowner is agreeing that the strips is to potentially be installed in front of their house. Once a petition has been received by the city and signatures to address checked, then the Level 2 assessment would commence. The item will be brought to the Traffic Commission with recommendations for discussion, approval, or denial. If approved, the item would need to, final approval by City Council, and a petition has since been supplied to the resident asking for a reinstallation of the transverse rumble strips.
So, did this location have these little bot stots there, or did they have thermoplastic stripes?
It had those transverse, I don't know if you can
Is
see it in
that
the
just
top right.
white thermoplastic
Mhm.
stripes though?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit different than bot stots.
Yeah, no, so now the transfers could either be the real tiny little buttons, or
Mhm.
it could be just a little rough pavement like they do on the side.
Oh, okay. And this was before the intersection they had these? Was it?
This
Yeah.
was prior to repaving, the
So-
images on the right.
I
Those
know,
images
but-
are from.
Red circle shows where
Yeah.
they're
Oh, the
located at.
locations, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those photos where they used to be, those from 2021, so they were there up until pretty recently.
Okay, so there's one by Parkside and one's mid-block.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm
So,
okay.
yeah, so when the road was repaved, they weren't redone. So this resident says everybody wants them, but at this point, he needs to, or he or she needs to have a petition of the other residents that may live right opposite where they need to be installed, because those are the people that are gonna be impacted
Mhm.
with hearing the, every time.
Yeah, and I wonder if
So-
they should have a sample thermoplastic stripe versus however big these buttons are. If you have kids that, ride scooters or skateboards or anything, I don't know if that's, it's different. It'd be
Yeah,
the
it is.
dots or the striping.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
they're not the big dot bots, but they are small dots.
And then
that they-
Public Works will have to be gluing them back on every time they
Yes.
pop off versus the thermoplastic which stays there.
Yes. So if we get the petition, then we can looking at different options that, the city, if everything goes,
Mm-hmm.
then at that point, we will look at different options. And like you said, the thermoplastic with the little, rough pavement or whatever, probably would be the best.
Yeah.
So basically, on this one, it doesn't go any further until we sent the resident a petition that he needs to get the other houses to sign.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But he
and
doesn't
then-
get to tell them whether we're proposing dots or thermoplastic or,
Well, when they come back, we can also tell them,
these are options.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still, even if you have thermoplastic, it's still gonna have some noise associated with it, so.
Oh, yeah. And you think there's actual rumble strips in between the thermoplastic? Like it's thermoplastic, then rumble?
No.
It's
the
just the
thermal,
thermoplastic.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Makes it
Yeah.
sound.
And usually it's only a couple, lines. It's not like, this one was long. This was
There's 7 or
existing.
8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not, it wouldn't be that long. It would be like, normally it's like 2 or 3 stripes.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that will come up if they get all the petitions and people are in favor, you just don't know if people will be in favor of it, if it's in front of their house.
Right.
It's a little different.
It's a no
If
for
it's
me.
in front of
but-
his house, it's okay,
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's it, so.
Yeah. Thermoplastic maybe, everything else I'd say no.
So then we will
Whatever they
have that
want.
discussion when it comes back, or if it comes back,
Very good.
okay?
Alrighty.
All right.
I think is
And that was the
And
last.
then we have the PD.
Oh, yeah, just kinda, yeah.
Perfect. So then for item 4, there's no audience comments on items on the agenda. Item 5, committee member comments on items on the agenda. We do have a list from the police department on item or locations they have done spot enforcement on. So those locations are Orange from Delborn to Morris, Holt and Temple, Cortez from Azusa to Hollenbeck, Barranca and South Garvey, Tonopah from Francisquito to Fairgrove, Durness from Sunset to California, Toluca and Cameron, Willow from South Garvey to Merced, Vine and Holly, Valinda and Merced, Valinda and Glendora, Valinda and Service, 1611 Autumn Drive, Parkside from Brentwood to Fairgrove, Gemini, And lastly, Shadow Oak from Woodgate to Gemini.
Well, thank you for the enforcement.
Yes,
We need
so they're doing their spot enforcement, because that's one of the first things that, when we get a request, we ask PD to go out and do a little spot enforcement. They cannot sit there all the time, so,
Right.
you know, you're just gonna, if you see them, you see them, you know, you're there looking out your window at the right time. Otherwise, they're here and there, but they gave us a list, so they are including that in their traffic enforcement. So
Excellent.
we thank them.
Very good.
So if there's no other committee member comments, then I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and our next meeting will be next month in September.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.